Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'll be reading from the subreddit Am I the A-hole, where the OP would like to know if she's the a-hole for kicking her husband out over text to her daughter's girlfriend, which led him to have a heart attack. This next post is from Still Hurting Wife 23. I, 43 female, have been married to my husband Chris, 45 male, for 21 years. We have one daughter, Sarah, 19 female, and for the past few months she's been dating Lena, 20 female, who's Egyptian Palestinian. Lena is lovely, soft-spoken, respectful, thoughtful. She talks about her family and culture with so much pride, and she treats Sarah with so much care. I really liked having her around. Honestly, I was just happy Sarah found someone who treated her so well. Chris seemed to like her too. He was always asking questions, especially about her background, whether her family was religious, what kind of food and cultural traditions she grew up with, if they still had relatives in Gaza, how her parents feel about her dating girls. It was a little much sometimes, but I brushed it off. He's always been curious about different cultures, and I figured he was just being friendly. Then, a few nights ago, Sarah came over to our house while my husband was still at work, saying that she had something serious to tell me. She had Lena's phone in her hand, looking like she had been crying, and gave it over to me. There were messages from Chris to Lena over a span of a month. He had been texting Lena behind Sarah's back. It started off as casual small talk, but it turned into him telling her how she had a rare beauty, that he'd never been with an Arab woman like her before. He said she had the kind of look that got into a man's head, and it made him wish that he dated out before being with me because she was stunning in a way white girls aren't. He asked her if she ever wore traditional clothing and said he bet she looked beautiful in a hijab, even though she isn't Muslim. He told her she had bedroom eyes and kept referring to her as exotic. Then came the worst part. He said maybe the three of us, that me, him, and Lena, could explore something private together, that it would be safe just between us since we're all family. He tried to frame it like he was joking, but he clearly wasn't. To be clear, Lena never encouraged it. She told him to stop. She reminded him she was with Sarah. He kept saying it with stress, late night rambling, or he was just trying to joke, but it was clear he had crossed the line. She didn't want to tell Sarah at first because she didn't want to break up Sarah's family or cause drama, but after weeks she finally told her, which led to Sarah showing me the text herself. Sarah left soon after I had seen everything, and when Chris came home, I didn't say much of anything to him that night. But when he was asleep, I packed a decent amount of his stuff and put it near the front door. When he woke up, I told him I saw everything he said to Lena and he had to leave. He didn't even try to deny any of it. He tried to explain that he'd never do anything for real, that it was fantasy, that he'd been struggling mentally and emotionally for a long time and didn't know how to express it. He admitted Lena made him think about things he never let himself think about before, that being with me, a white woman, was safe, but maybe too safe, and that he sometimes wondered what it would have been like to be with someone different. I didn't really say anything back. I just told him to leave again, so he did. He went to stay with his mom. That day, she started texting me nonstop. Then she sent pictures of Chris in a hospital bed, one after another, and said he collapsed in her kitchen and had a heart attack due to the stress. He's okay now, recovering, but she won't stop calling and texting me. She said I broke him, pushed him too far, that I should have dealt with it privately like a wife should do. She blamed Lena and Sarah. She said I was choosing some foreign girl over my husband of 21 years. She also repeatedly called me heartless for not immediately visiting him, but also said that she wouldn't let me go into the hospital room anyways. Chris has only messaged me once from the hospital. He asked when he could come home, but I haven't answered yet. The part I hate the most is I still love him. I do. Not the version of him in those texts, but the man I thought I was building a life and spent years with. That's what's tearing me up, that he could say those things, think those things, and still come back and look me in the eye like nothing was wrong. I know I technically had to do what I did for my daughter, but it doesn't feel good in the slightest. It just feels like my whole life is falling apart. Am I the a-hole for doing that to him? I like this reply down in the comments. Not the a-hole. Your husband is sick and you did not cause him to have a heart attack. That is 100% on him. Your mother-in-law is upset because that's her son. But I would tell her he made his bed, he can lie in it. Then block her. Stand by your daughter. It's not her fault her dad is being creepy. nor is it Lena's fault. I agree, you're definitely not the a-hole. If anyone is the a-hole, it's him and his mom for coddling him. I mean, not just the fact that he's married to you, he's disrespected you. He also disrespected his daughter and made her girlfriend feel uncomfortable. Like, what gives him the right? And the fact that his mom, I don't know if she knows the full story, but the fact that she coddled him and didn't tell him to stand up and take accountability, and the fact that he could just message you and ask if he could come home, he has no accountability at all. He doesn't care. He's not sad at what he's done. He's not upset that he's destroying the family and made his daughter feel uncomfortable and her girlfriend feel uncomfortable. No, definitely you need to be thinking on other terms of maybe getting a divorce. I don't know how you come back from this. Definitely not the a-hole, but his mom and him, they are most definitely a-holes. Am I the a-hole for telling a guy to shut up during a job interview? Our next Reddit post is by Sir TuneIn Synolytic. I was interviewing this guy for a very good software engineering position. He passed the first round, and both I and everyone involved in the second round really liked his resume and experience. On paper, he had everything we were looking for, and honestly, this looked like a life-changing opportunity for him. Then he shows up very serious and not smiling at all. I'm used to that in tech interviews, and I understand it can be an intimidating environment. We did a round of introductions, and then he opened the interview by saying, "Let me tell you a little bit about myself." We said, "Okay, go for it." He started talking about his personal and professional background. After about 3 minutes, I jumped in to ask a follow-up question based on something he mentioned. He replied, "I will answer, just give me a moment," and continued talking. A coworker jumped in with another question, and he said the same thing to her. At this point, we were kind of looking at each other, but decided to let him continue and give him the benefit of the doubt. But after more than 5 minutes, I jumped in again with another question. I had to talk over him to do it. He finally paused and answered, but in such a long-winded way that he ended up veering into another topic. My coworker asked another question, and the same thing happened. At this point, I was ready to end the interview. I tried to politely wrap it up several times, but he was unable to read the room and just kept talking. I finally raised my voice slightly and said something like, "Thank you very much for sharing your background. In the interest of time, I'd like to ask if you have any questions for us." This is standard protocol and helps us prepare answers for future interviews. He asked a question about the team, and as I was answering, he raised his finger and interrupted to talk more about his background. I let it go. Then he asked another question, which my coworker started to answer. But again, he spoke over her to talk about himself. I tried once more to interrupt politely, but he kept talking. At that point, I was done. I said, "John, you really have to shut up and listen." He was surprised, as was my coworker, but he finally stopped talking. I continued, "You walked into this room with a 99% chance of getting the job. Now that chance is 0. The only reason is because in less than 15 minutes, you've demonstrated that you don't have the capacity to listen at all. So I'm telling you now, you're not getting the job. But if you take anything from this interview, let it be this. No matter how good you are technically, if you can't listen, you'll never excel in this career." He apologized and said, "Can we start again?" I replied, "You had your chance. Best of luck in your future interviews. Make sure you listen." Looking back, I know I could have handled that differently, but I still feel bad for the guy. OP, you're definitely not the a-hole. I know it's sad that you had to do it this way, but you actually did this guy a favor. There's often times that even with myself, if I haven't gotten a job, I wonder why. I may be qualified, but I don't get the position. And it would be great if, we're told why we don't get those positions. The fact that you told him that, hopefully he took that and learned from it and listened and applied that at his next interview. This next post is by SnapNo51. Am I the a-hole for expecting my ex-girlfriend to move out after she broke up with me, even though she has nowhere to go? I, 27 male, have been with my girlfriend Megan, 26 female, for 4 years, and we live together for 2 of them. We live in a house I inherited by my grandmother. Megan quit her job a while ago to pursue her master's degree full-time since her bachelor's wasn't opening any doors. I've been supporting her financially and emotionally while she's been in school. To be clear, I never resented that. I wanted to support her goals and was proud she was pushing forward in life. Her program is intense, and she's even taken summer courses. I work full-time and also take care of the house, which means some things slip through the cracks. I cook, clean, and try to keep things in decent shape. It's not perfect, but I genuinely don't think it's bad. I'd comfortably have friends over without worrying about the place looking or smelling off. I'm not an amazing chef, but I know my way around the kitchen. But yeah, they're mostly basic dinners. The past couple of months have been hard. Megan's stress levels have been through the roof, and tensions between us have grown. She's been unhappy with how I clean or cook, saying I don't meet her standards. I get that she's overwhelmed, but I felt like nothing I did was ever enough. I still tried to be patient and supportive, but things hit a boiling point and we had a big argument. Megan broke up with me. It hurt, but I honestly think it was for the best. We were clearly not making each other happy anymore, so what was the point anymore? Here's the problem. Now that we're no longer together, I think it's fair of her to move out. She doesn't agree. She says she has nowhere else to go and that if she's forced to leave, she'll have to drop out of her program. Her mom and stepdad live the RV life, and she doesn't have friends who can take her in. She did receive a decent amount of money from her own grandmother when she passed, but she used most of it to cover her tuition. I know she wasn't blowing it. It really did go to school, but now she's tapped out and stuck. I get that this situation sucks, and I don't want to see her crash and burn, but I also don't feel like I should have to keep living with someone who broke up with me. I've already given her 45 days to figure something out, even though legally I'm only required to give her 30. She's now trying to say she wants to work things out, but to me, it feels more like panic and desperation than a genuine desire to fix the relationship. I don't hate her, but I don't think it's healthy for either of us to keep living together in this limbo. So, am I the a-hole for expecting her to move out after she broke up with me? Man, the audacity of some people. Are you kidding me? You're working full-time and taking care of her and cooking and cleaning. All she's doing is getting her master's degree, and she has the nerve to use you like a doormat, then break up with you and then expect you to continue to pay her bills, continue to treat her good, and she's no longer your girlfriend. What would be the point? Why would you continue to do that? No, you're not the a-hole. You gave her 45 days, tell her to grow up. She's only getting her master's. Plenty of people do that and work full-time. She can figure it out. She only realized that she has nowhere to go, so now she wants to backtrack and say, let's work it out. She really doesn't want to. She just wants to continue to keep you on this little string until she get her master's, and then she can peace out and go live her life. Please, I'm glad that you woke up, because there's no way. You're doing the right thing. You're not the a-hole. This next post is from Throwaway Dexty. Am I the a-hole for asking my parents how long it would take them to notice if I died? Or would they even notice at all after they ignored 6 hours of calls about me going to the emergency room? The title actually sums up pretty much exactly what I, 16 male, said to my parents. But there's so much context to go with that, and I'm really sorry in advance if this is crazy long. Alright, so I'm the middle kid of 3. My older brother is 10 months older than me. My younger brother is 2 years younger. So we're 17, 16, and 14. My older and younger brother hate each other. They're always fighting and doing petty crap to each other. It drives our parents crazy and takes up a lot of attention. Or, at least that's the excuse my parents used. Even before it got really bad, my parents always overlooked me more than my brothers. I was an easier kid and everything, but why does that mean it's okay to ignore me? When we were younger, it was smaller stuff. Like mom or dad would forget to ask me to pick out my treat at the grocery store, something each of us did whenever we went grocery shopping with our parents. And we'd circle back around to let me pick something once everything was paid for, because we were normally at the checkout before my parents could listen to me say I was forgotten, or it took that long for them to realize on their own. Or another example is sometimes my parents would go up to order food and they forget my order and have to go back up and place it. Happened in drive-thrus too. But then it was ignoring/forgetting to help me with homework when my brothers needed help too, or if they argued. Forgetting stuff they had promised me because their focus was on my brothers. Forgetting we needed to go out and buy stuff for school, and that resulted in a few emails to my teachers to let them know I was going in without needing materials. It was also leaving me behind places because once my brothers started fighting more, they'd race off and not check if I was there. And it was forgetting 2 of my birthdays and remembering the next day and not even apologizing for it because I was so understanding and mature. and they would celebrate like it was my actual birthday. There were times in the last 2 years where they forgot they dropped me somewhere and never came to pick me up. If I was lucky, my best friend was there with his parents and would drop me off at home, and sometimes they pick me up and feed me first because they'd be aware I was waiting a while to leave. Other times, I had to call 5 or 6 times before they'd answer. In the past, I had brought up these incidents to them, and they always like, we really don't mean it, and we're just so overwhelmed with your brothers and we'll do better. But it feels more and more like they don't notice whether I'm around or not, unless they really tired of my brothers fighting and I end up hanging out with one of them, which breaks the tension for a while. Then, the other week happened. I was at my best friend's house and I had an allergic reaction to something I ate. His mom drove me to the emergency room and she was trying to call my parents. 6 hours, 6 whole hours of calls, and my parents weren't at work. They were home. She tried on her phone and on mine. When her husband left work, he went to my house and told my parents what was going on. It was only then, and like 6 hours and 20 or 30 minutes later, that they left the house and they showed up at the hospital 7 hours after I went in. I had to stay overnight and I told my parents to go home because I was so mad and upset with them that they brought me no comfort. My best friend's mom stayed with me, which wasn't really allowed, but an exception was made because of how upset I was. My parents picked me up at discharge time and they were being all caring and stuff, but it bothered me. Things were strained for about a week and they told me they really needed to apologize. I said yeah, but it didn't mean anything, and the conversation went on from there. And I brought up how I was home late by 2.5 hours and they hadn't noticed. And it took my best friend's dad literally going to the house to tell them. Then my brothers were brought up and it was all just annoying. They swore that I was not an overlooked middle child. And I asked them how long would it take for them to notice that I died, and would they even notice, because it sure looked like they wouldn't. That really upset them. And they asked why I'd say it. And I told them I meant it. The conversation stopped then, but a few days after, my dad told me it felt like I went out of my way to hurt them. And I'm usually more mature than that. Am I the a-hole? Man, OP, this was a really hard read because I'm a mother of 4. My children are grown now, but I could never treat one of my children like this. It's also so dangerous because, I mean, you're 15 now, but when you were a child, you could have been snatched, and would they even notice? Who wants to feel like your parents wouldn't notice that? The fact that you really could have died from an allergic reaction and they took 7 hours to get to the hospital and then tried to gaslight you and make it seem like you're the problem, like you're the one that's always more mature. Clearly, you're the more mature out of everyone in your family, which is crazy. And, I don't like when good behavior is not, recognized and only bad behavior is. And when children start to act out, to get attention, and you're not even doing that, and look at what's happening. All the bad behavior is getting all the attention. That's sad. It's just soaking it up. For your father to gaslight you at the end of this really infuriates me because, yeah, you may be mature for your age, but you're 15. You shouldn't have to be. And this was going on well before this. It's their responsibility as parents to treat you all equally. It's not yours. You shouldn't even have to bring this up. Any parent that cares about their children would care about them equally. And that would be something so devastating. Like, I would be crushed to find out that I took 7 hours and my child was in a hospital and could have possibly died. And the fact that you didn't want them there because they brought you no comfort. That would kill me, legit kill me as a parent. I don't know how he could part his lips and say that you're usually the mature one. Man, he needs to grow up. Him and her. Like, it's really ridiculous and they need to stop it. I have no words for real. You are not the a-hole. Your parents are definitely a-holes. Like, major a-holes. This has been Reddit's Am I the A-hole? And if you like my video, then like, comment, and subscribe so I can bring you more. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Until next time.